This again. And I'll just, for the video, I'll just go ahead and cut it. This is why it's great to have live. So thank you for letting me know. I just glanced up at the chat. So thanks, Dax, for letting me know about that. So let's try this again. Take two. Take two, everybody. Semi truck leaves I-5 freeway and splashes into a waterway, closing lanes during peak post-holiday travel. Several lanes on I-5 in LA were shut down on Sunday morning for a wreck involving a semi-truck that crashed into a nearby waterway. The accident happened just before 3 a.m. on Sunday, December 29th on the I-5 freeway south of Parker Road in Castaic, California. According to the local news, the semi veered off the roadway and crashed through a guardrail before landing in a shallow waterway by the road. The wreck caused a fuel spill and sent the truck driver to the hospital. The extent of the driver's injuries have not been released. Multiple lanes of the freeway were shut down for cleanup and investigation of the incident. A waterway basically drains into the ocean, said the wrecking company, so we're going to try to control the fuel spill and make sure that there isn't any fuel that goes into the waterway and hence, polluting everything. Yes, this is what I love about live. You screw up, everybody sees it right then and there. No editing it out until later. And in this story, a truck driver is cited after striking a parked patrol vehicle on New York Interstate. Police are asking drivers to move over for emergency vehicles following a crash in New York State involving a police patrol vehicle and a semi-truck. The crash occurred shortly after 7 p.m. on December 20th in Big Flats, New York. According to the local sheriff's office, deputies were dispatched on I-86 near the Steuben County line to assist with a single vehicle crash in the eastbound lane. The driver in that crash suffered a head injury and required transportation to the hospital. Quote, Sheriff's Deputy Caitlin Fletcher was parked at the rear of the accident scene and stopped partially on the shoulder of the roadway and the driving lane and had a directional signal activated to instruct all approaching traffic to move over to the passing lane. As Deputy Fletcher was preparing to exit her patrol vehicle, a semi operated by Morris Rudout, hauling milk, approached the accident scene but failed to move over. Because of this, the semi struck the driver's side of the patrol car, sending the patrol car off the south shoulder of the roadway and down the embankment, causing extensive damage to both the patrol vehicle and the front of the semi. Deputy Fletcher was hospitalized with minor injuries. No one else was hurt. Luckily, she, I'm sure got out of the way before she could have really got hurt. An officer was attacked by a cow set loose in a cattle truck fire. Police officer was injured by a cow freed during a cattle hauler fire in Idaho. According to the local sheriffs who responded to the scene, a semi-hauling cattle had caught fire on I-15. When the officer arrived, the trucker had already unloaded the cattle from the trailer as a precaution, and other first responders were attempting to corral the cows. One cow then ran into the northbound lane of I-5 where the officer tried to catch it, but the cow charged him instead, knocking him to the ground. The cow then continued to attack the officer as he was on the ground, so the officer shot the animal in self-defense. The officer was transported to a local hospital where he was treated for minor injuries and released the same day. Authorities say that the cow had been injured in the truck fire, which may have led to its aggressive behavior. I-15 South was completely closed for several hours as officers worked to corral the remaining cows, load them onto another trailer, and then went ahead and cleared the wreckage. The initial cattle trailer was seriously damaged in the fire, which appeared to have started near their wheels. The loose cows did not cause any crashes, and the only cow killed was the one that the officer shot. So I bet you he was shitting his britches, getting chased down by a cow. I had that happen, but it was a steer, and I ended up taking a 2x4 and going after the steer to show him who's boss. Well, hence why I got a little missing tooth right here, because when I smacked it on the head, it turned around and hit me square. The 2x4, I mean, bounced off, it hit in between the horns. It bounced, and then it hit me right in the mouth, and I ended up getting a busted tooth out of that deal. So there's a little Julia trucking story for you. And up next, in New York City, congestion pricing starts last weekend. Here is what it might cost truckers. New York City is set to become the first city in the U.S. to implement congestion pricing. The pricing plan is scheduled to begin on Sunday, January 5th, after an 8-month pause and drastic price cut by Governor Kathy Hochul. Congestion pricing will take effect in the Manhattan zone, which include local streets and avenues at or below 60th Street near Central Park. During the peak hours, the toll will cost $9 for passenger vehicles who enter the zone, $14.40 for work trucks, $21.60 for semi-trucks. Semi-trucks will be charged $5.40 for overnight hours. Peak hours are considered 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the weekends. The tolls will be collected through E-ZPass. Gantries are already set up at congestion zone entry points, and drivers without an E-ZPass will be mailed a toll bill and charged even a higher price. If the toll continues, rates will rise in 2028 and then again in 2031. There are currently several court cases aimed at trying to halt congestion pricing until a comprehensive study on its effects has been completed, including one brought by the state of New Jersey. A ruling on the New Jersey case is expected to be reached prior to January 5th. President-elect Donald Trump has also stated that he plans to end the congestion pricing plan when he takes office on January 20th. New York City, gotta love them. Gotta love New York City. Oops, wrong way. Wrong way. Here we go. And in this story, California Highway Patrol is investigating a suspicious death of a man found lying near a semi-truck. Tax. Screw New York. Yeah, I know. I didn't like going to the city when I used to run. But I would get $100 combat pay, though, for having to go into New York City. They turned around and threw me an extra $100 for doing that. So I'm like, okay, not. But anyway, back to the story. The California Highway Patrol is investigating the death of a man found lying in the roadway near a semi-truck parked on the shoulder of Highway 166. The man was found around noon on Sunday, December 29th on the eastbound shoulder of Highway 166 between Old River Road and Interstate 5 near Bakersfield. According to the local news, police were called to the area on reports of a semi stopped on the westbound shoulder since the night before. When officers arrived to investigate, they discovered a man lying dead across the road from the stopped semi. Investigators closed an 8-mile stretch on Highway 166 to investigate the incident. Officers are calling the death suspicious. no further information was released. And I'm surprised that, I was saying before, I was surprised that they didn't leave a phone number where if you saw anything, the man crossing the road or the truck stopping or anything like that, to call. But you could always look up I don't have it handy, but the Bakersfield Police Department, I'm sure. And it would be off of California Highway 166 if you saw anything, heard anything. An Iowa trucking company building is a total loss after going up in smoke, which is not funny. But multiple firefighting agencies responded to a large fire at a trucking company in Greenfield, Iowa. This happened on December 27th around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Firefighters responded to G&H Motor Freight Lines on the north side of Greenfield for a reported structure fire. Officials said that the blaze started in the shop, then moved rapidly through a storage facility and into a second story office area. No injuries were reported. The local fire department said that the building is a complete loss. Firefighters returned to the scene on Saturday morning after hotspots reignited, causing piles of powdered egg to continue to burn for an extended period of time. And yeah, the flames were rolling on that one. That's too bad. Luckily, nobody was, it doesn't say that anybody was in the building or not, so hopefully not. And that, I hate to see anybody get hurt. And then on continuation of that story, the cause of the trucking company fire that burned all weekend probably will never be determined. As you can see here in this photo, the building was burned so extensively that the cause of the fire will likely never be determined, says the firefighters. The crews fought the fire through Saturday evening, but by Monday, December 30th, the business was on fire again. Quote, we thought we did a pretty good job of it Saturday by noon, where there really wasn't hardly any smoke left, said the fire chief. We ended up dumping Saturday night roughly 12,000 gallons on what's burning right now, and obviously that didn't help. As of Monday evening, fire crews were continuing to monitor the fire, but were unable to take further action until the company's insurance approves. Really? The insurance had to approve the firefighters to put the damn fire out? Wow. Quote, the extent of the damage is so much on the end where it started that there's not going to be able to be a real determination on how it really started, said the fire chief, stating that the building was full of raw and powdered eggs, which have continued to feed the fire. So now we know that powdered eggs is flammable, just like, if you didn't know this, powdered non-dairy creamer. The little bitty creamers, they're flammable. You have to have a flammable placard when you haul the non-dairy powdered creamer. Now you know powdered eggs are flammable too. There you go. You learn something watching this show and not just listen to me banter. Let me go back up to where I was because I kind of skipped around on this one. And in this story, as you see the title, a truck driver is found deceased in a cab behind a South Carolina gas station. I keep checking my phone here. Authorities confirmed that a truck driver was found dead in his vehicle at a gas station in Aiken County, South Carolina, last week, Tuesday. This is at 6 in the morning on December 31st. The Aiken County Coroner's Office was called to a Quick Trip located in Grantville, South Carolina. According to the local news, a truck driver was found dead in the cab of the truck parked behind the gas station. No foul play is suspected at this time, and an autopsy is scheduled. The identity of the truck driver has not been released, and this is a developing story. Let me see something real quick. There. Do it that way. So what I tried to do here in order to read the stories, because I don't know all of them off the top of my head, I'll give you a little background. You have to learn something new every day. As I go through the articles, I have my tablet underneath my screen down here. That's why I keep looking down. And that's where I have all the news articles, so I could just scroll through them as I'm flipping through each article at a time. And California State Patrol says it was too late implementing chain laws on I-70, leading to more than a dozen semis stuck. This is published New Year's Eve. Interstate 70 was shut down for several hours on Monday after multiple semis were allowed to pass by the chain station without chaining up. The closure of eastbound I-70 through Vail Pass, Colorado, was first announced on the 30th at 1:30 in the afternoon, about 30 minutes after heavy snow began falling in the area. The snow also forced the closure of Highway 24, a detour around Vail, between 3 and 5 p.m. According to the local news, more than a dozen semis were allowed to pass the chain station without chaining up before the chain laws were finally implemented. By then, multiple semis were already struggling to make it up the incline, make it up Vail. It's just a sheet of ice up there. Multiple spun-out vehicles, said the local state patrol. Rice explained that the Colorado State Patrol is mainly responsible for notifying the Colorado Department of Transportation that chain laws should go into effect, but admitted that this time was behind the ball on getting the chain law set in place, and it's too late. And at that point, semis were already on climbing up Vail. At about 1:05 p.m., I started seeing all the trucks that couldn't get up the hill, who drives for a local private car service, so I radioed my other driver and told him to go around on Highway 24, and he barely made it through then. I-70 was reopened on Monday evening just before 5 p.m. No injuries or serious crashes were reported. Unlike I-70, but I don't have that article this week. It's going to be next week's show, where it was in Illinois. There was a heck of a crash. We'll talk about that next week. And once again, last week, Kroger made it in the news. Now this is 2 for 2. Kroger Distribution Center shut down due to a worker's murder. Leaves truckers waiting in line for up to 72 hours. Truckers have reported waiting for days to access a grocery store distribution center in Memphis after an act of workplace violence shuttered the facility for several days. Day after Christmas, Mr. Hobson was killed during a dispute at the Kroger DC in Memphis. Hobson's co-worker Anderson Todd has since been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Following the incident, the Kroger warehouse was reportedly shuttered for 4 days for the investigation. Now, this is the story that I talked about on last week's episode. So this is a continuation of it. The local news reports that some truck drivers said they waited up to 72 hours inside their trucks at the facility, spending the weekend after the Christmas holiday waiting in line. And you can't leave. Once you check in, because I've been to this Kroger, when you see the picture, that is people triple parked there. Normally you back in on an angle, then you have to walk all the way down to the end of this angled parking where they got the guard shack, and then you could check in like an hour early or something, and then you got to go walk back to your truck. They will call you when they have a door, and it was taking up to 3 days to get a door, and you can't leave. You can't go to the truck stop. You can't. I bet you DoorDasher was making a killing with drivers being there for 72 hours. You know, I would have made a killing at DoorDash delivering food to the drivers over there. But I digress. So truck drivers also said that they were hauling loads of fresh food when the distribution center was shut down. So they also had to run the reefer units. Truck driver Dennis Wade told the outlet that the wait had cost him $1,000. Another driver, Martin Acosta, said the DC closure cost him about $3,000 in lost loads. Yeah, because you already have another load booked. I did that. You know, you expect to deliver on time, and you have another load booked for later that day or the next morning or something like that, and you had to cancel, and then you don't know when you're going to get out of there because everything is packed up. So, yeah, it's a pain. Acosta also said that he was worried about missing the holidays with his family. So, yeah, it's be prepared. Take food with you. Stop at Walmart. Get some food before you go in there, because you don't know. I'm sure it's better now. We usually got in and got out, you know, without, you know, you never realize that something like that's going to happen. So that was like a fluke. In all the years I've been driving, this is the first time I've ever heard about anybody being hurt or anything like that at Kroger. At that Kroger, and I've delivered there quite often. And in this article, a trucker is seriously injured by a reversing motorist while he was working on his semi-truck. Police are investigating after a truck driver was seriously hurt by a motorist in a parking lot in Lubbock. The accident happened on December 30th, just before 11 in the morning on North Loop 289 in Lubbock, Texas. According to the local news, a 36-year-old truck driver, Greg Vargas, was working near his semi-truck at a convenience store parking lot when he was struck by an SUV. The SUV was driven by 76-year-old William Nelson, who was backing out of a parking place when he collided with Vargas. Vargas was transported to a hospital with serious injuries as a result of the incident. Police are still investigating. And no, I don't think it's the same Willie Nelson because he lives in Texas. Well, but not around Lubbock, I don't think. Not 100% sure on that. But I'm sure it would have made the news if, you know, the real Willie Nelson was involved in any kind of a wreck. You know, that would definitely make the news. And have you been to West Virginia lately? On 77, I believe? On the West Virginia Turnpike? Remember the big travel center at the West Virginia Turnpike that was closed like forever? Well, they reopened and they expanded the truck parking. Popular West Virginia Travel Plaza reopened to the public after it was shut down for several months for upgrades. Several months? Yeah, try like dang near a year. On December 30th, West Virginia Governor Jim Justice announced the reopening of the Beckley Travel Plaza located along the West Virginia Turnpike. The Beckley Travel Plaza was closed in early August for demolition and renovation to allow for upgrades and expansion of truck parking facilities. Am I thinking of Beckley, or am I thinking there was another one there in West Virginia that was closed for the longest time? Is that the Beckley one? Yeah, this looks like looking at a bigger picture, that's a drone footage that I'm seeing here. It looks like it's the same one. Officials said in July that 35 truck parking places would be added to the facility, bringing the total number of truck parking places to 165. You still better get in there by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because 165 parking places isn't hardly anything. I mean, look at White's. White's is up to 350, and during the week, most of that is all doggone full. So other amenities include Starbucks, Wendy's, Popeyes, Mountain State Market restaurants, which will run 24/7, increased restroom facilities, electric vehicle charging, at least we forget that, a drive-through, a separate vehicle and semi-fueling options. Quote, I'm truly blown away by how this plaza has turned out. It's even more than we imagined, said the governor. A few years ago, no one would have dreamed that West Virginia would be featured in a top travel guides or become a top tourist destination. Now, people from all over the world are coming to experience almost heaven. We need to update our travel plazas to match the excitement and energy of our visitors, and that's exactly what we've done. You can tell the snarkiness in my voice, right? This isn't just a pit stop. It's our opportunity to show off the beauty and spirit of West Virginia. The reason why I'm talking like this is because of the fact, it's so much blah, 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 and so much political crap he's spewing when he's talking like this, that is just trying to make it all sound so pretty and everything. But yeah, the cops suck. Let's be real. And sort of the scale houses. But anyway, I digress. And then Massachusetts passes a bill saving nearly 500 truckers from having their CDL yanked for archaic offenses. Hang on a second. I have two cats, and they're always... One's a munchkin, and the other one's 5 years old, and the little one always wants to beat up the big one. Dominating thing. But anyway, back to the story. Sorry about that. So Massachusetts passes a bill saving nearly 500 truckers from having their CDL yanked for archaic offenses. Nearly 500 truckers will likely be safe from losing their livelihoods thanks to the passing of a bill by Massachusetts lawmakers on New Year's Eve. Back in August of 2024, the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles informed 482 CDL holders that their licenses would be revoked due to a lifetime look back at violations on their record. Boy, ain't that some crap. In October of 2024, Massachusetts lawmakers introduced emergency legislation attempting to stop this looming revocation. On the 31st of December 2024, that bill was passed, preventing the Registry of Motor Vehicles from disqualifying drivers for holding a CDL for life for 2 or more listed infractions. Additionally, any offenses on a driver's record prior to 2005 will be excluded from consideration. There's no quote, there's no question that these old archaic violations that were committed so many years ago have no bearing on whether that person is a safe driver now. And everyone I've spoken to have maintained a clean record, said the attorney defending several CDL holders. As of New Year's Eve, the bill had been passed and completed. The Massachusetts Governor Healy has 10 days to sign it into law. After that, the RMV has until the end of February to comply with that new law. So how would you like them apples? Hence why I don't live in Massachusetts. I mean, get away with murder sometimes, I swear. And in Oregon, police credit a semi-truck driver with stopping a suspected drunk driver that was involved in a hit and run. So it's about time I can report on some good news for a change instead of everything, people dying and places burning down and all of the wrecks and everything. After a while, it gets to be a lot. So police in Eugene, Oregon say that a semi-truck driver assisted in stopping a suspected intoxicated motorist after a hit-and-run crash on New Year's Eve. Shortly after 2 p.m. on December 31st, the Eugene Police Department responded to West 6th Avenue and Blair Boulevard for a multi-vehicle crash. Police say that 3 vehicles were westbound on West 6th Avenue where the far left lane merges to the right. The police department described the crash and the aftermath. This Porsche Mueller, age 34, later identified as the driver of a Mazda, was in a merge lane and merged into a semi and struck the front left corner of the semi. The semi swerved to the right when it was struck and was forced to the right and into a Ford Explorer's lane. The driver of the Ford Explorer sped ahead of the semi. Mueller is reported to have merged in front of the semi, was behind the Ford Explorer, and rear-ended it. The Ford Explorer's driver pulled into an auto repair business to exchange info, but Mueller left and the tractor trailer was following it. Boy, you can't make this up in the movies, can you? The semi-truck's 31-year-old driver followed Mueller, then slowly merged her car to a stop and carefully moved the car into a guardrail so she could not leave. Police said that Mueller was arrested and booked in the Lane County Jail on multiple charges, including DUI, 2 counts of hit and run, reckless driving, and 2 counts of reckless endangering. So I'm like, holy moly. So yeah, she was just going to take off. So coming in from the left lane, merging to the right. It shows backwards on the camera, sorry. And she merged into the semi. The semi shot over, hit a Ford Explorer. The Ford Explorer shot around the semi. She come in front of the semi, behind the Explorer, and then rear-ended the Explorer. And then takes off. I'm like, wow, wow, wow. And in our top story, a pregnant Uber driver crashes into a parked semi and kills the passenger. One person died after an accident involving a sedan and a stopped semi-truck in Philadelphia. This happened on December 31st around 10:45 in the evening in Philly. According to local news, a 32-year-old pregnant Uber driver crashed the sedan into a parked semi-truck, crushing the front passenger side of the car underneath the trailer. So she ran underneath the ICC bumper. Both the Uber driver and the passenger were taken to the hospital following the accident. The passenger was pronounced dead at 11:10 p.m. The Uber driver has since been listed in stable condition. The truck driver was not hurt. We're incredibly saddened by the horrible crash and are keeping those involved in our thoughts. We're continuing to look into this and stand by to assist in the investigation, an Uber spokesperson wrote in a statement. The cause of the crash is still under investigation at the time of writing of this article. And of course, as always, as I have any more updates on these stories, I will report them as soon as possible. And an overheight semi-truck causes a chain reaction crash beneath a Michigan overpass. Now you see, if you look to your left of your screen, you see the white truck. Doesn't look like anything's wrong with it, does it? But yet everybody's scattered everywhere behind them. A semi-truck crashed into a low overpass on Tuesday, causing a chain reaction involving 3 other vehicles. Accident happened on the 31st around 9:45 in Dorr Township, Michigan. According to the local news, a semi-truck tried to go underneath the 144th Avenue overpass on US 131. I have been there. But was over the height limit. The collision caused a chain reaction crash with 3 other vehicles, including a box truck. Only minor injuries were reported in the crash, but the roadway remained closed till about 2:45 p.m. that afternoon for cleanup and investigation of the accident. The 144th Avenue overpass had been closed until further notice after being structurally compromised during the crash. And no information has been released as far as what happened, not what. And a man is freed from the depths of a tanker trailer filled with feed after slipping and falling inside. So, if you can imagine loose wheat, oats, corn, if you any kind of a hopper bottom trailers or bulk tank trailer or anything like that, you sink down in there, step down in that stuff, it's just like quicksand. And you'll just keep sinking because of the weight. A man was pulled to safety after falling into a tanker trailer filled with feed at a facility in Ohio last week, Thursday. This incident occurred January 2nd at Middle Street in Homeworth, Knox County, Ohio. According to local news, a subcontractor was working around the trailer when he slipped and fell inside, where he became stuck. The Homeworth Fire Department and the Alliance Fire Department worked together to wrap a harness around a worker and lift him out of the feed hauler using a fire department ladder truck. The rescue took about 2 hours to complete. The man was then transported to the hospital with no life-threatening injuries. Officials say the worker slipped during a standard procedure involving the feed hauler, and then no further information has been released on. I'm sure hopefully he's okay. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I've also started, I want to make this little plug toward the end. I've also started creating, I don't know if we can see this. Here we go. Coloring books. So I know it's backwards. It looks backwards to me. But these are 8.5 by 11 coloring books that I have through Amazon. And they're like $7, $8 a piece. So you can see that they're full page coloring books. These are, this one's predominantly for boys. I was thinking of my grandson when I did this. And I keep a blank page in case they use markers or anything like that. Sorry, it's kind of fading in and out. But if you want to check that out, it's JVAS Books on Facebook. as a page, and then I have all the listing. I have two or three of them up right now. I am also doing a Mardi Gras one with Mardi Gras masks and everything. So it's good fun for the kids. Heck, some of them are so cute that I'll sit down and color just for something to do. You scribble on paper, you scribble on notes or something like that. Heck, you scribble in a coloring book. A friend of mine ordered one for her granddaughter, and granddaughter loved it. My grandson loved it, and that's what some of the other things that I'm doing. Also, check out my merchandise store at Julia's Trucket Cafe at spring.com. And there again, if you check out our Facebook page, that's also listed there. Anything that I'm doing new or creative or anything like that, I have on Julia's Trucket Cafe Facebook page, Truckin' News Hour on Facebook. So I hope everybody had a good new year. Thank you so much for tuning in, and keep the shiny side up. And until next time.